Hey guys, it's your girl Lee. Welcome to a fresh new episode of Keto Schmeto Pod. We have a great episode planned for you today. So some of you were probably wondering who that mystery man was that I was speaking to in the last episode. And silly me, I was so excited to jump straight into my content that I forgot to introduce my incredible husband Ian, aka my tech guy, who will be controlling all of the cameras and audio for the pod. He will be making some appearances throughout the podcast and upcoming episodes, so stay tuned for that. So, let's not waste any more time and let's go ahead and get right into the content. Not sure how many of you have heard about this Gwyneth Paltrow controversy. I'm sure most of you probably know who she is, but apparently she has made this claim that the keto diet has essentially cured her COVID-19 diagnosis. Now, COVID, I'm sure most of you are so sick of hearing about it, and I definitely don't want to make this podcast about COVID or the pandemic, but I do think that it's important to kind of talk about this current event that's going on. Definitely want to give her props or a nod for getting keto out there for, maybe some audiences that she's able to reach that haven't heard about the keto diet. Definitely thank you there. But what frustrates me is when individuals use their celebrity or their fame, so to speak, to spread absolute BS on the internet or through their followers. So she was diagnosed with COVID early on, she stated, and she used not only the keto diet, but she's also gone more plant-based. She's cut out sugar, she's cut out alcohol, and she's also using a lot of sauna treatment. And she stated that she was advised by a medical professional to do this. And of course, all of these medical professionals are advising people that this is not a medically cleared or studied way in order to cure your COVID. She's even got individuals from the National Health Services that are throwing out, all kinds of articles and fact checking everything that she's kind of stated. So definitely wanted to bring that up. I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but it's definitely something that's very current in the news right now. COVID is very serious. It's a very serious condition. I don't want to downplay that at all whatsoever, and I'm definitely grateful that she has recovered and survived it, because so many people have unfortunately lost their lives during this pandemic. But again, don't want to make the podcast all about the pandemic. I know most of you, like us, are really, really tired of this nightmare and really are ready for our lives to return to some kind of normalcy. But until then, we kind of just have to deal with it. The vaccines are rolling out. I don't know if you're pro or against the vaccine, whatever your standpoint is on that. Hopefully, sometime in the very, very near future, we can all kind of get back to doing the things that we were normally doing pre-pandemic in 2020. And from there, I definitely want to go ahead and move on to our next segment. Babe, what you got? I think it's time for a little smash or trash. So this first one here is spam. Now, I don't know how any of you feel about spam. It is keto friendly, I will say. It is a low carb meat, if that's what you want to call it. If you're not familiar with spam, usually comes in those little blue tins that you kind of pop the top off of, and then you gotta use a butter knife to kind of work it out of the can. It's kind of hard to get out, but it's definitely keto friendly. Now, this one, if you want to go ahead and pull it up on the screen there, this looks amazing. It's habanero and honey glazed, and then it's smoked. Now, the honey is definitely not keto friendly. Way too many sugars in there. But you could definitely make a type of glaze just without the honey. You can use like a erythritol or any of those sugar substitutes, a little bit of water, a little bit of butter, and kind of melt that down and make a little bit of a glaze, spice it up with the habanero. But this looks so good. I would absolutely eat this. Now, I don't eat Spam very often. I usually only have it a couple times a year. But when I do, it's definitely not something that I feel guilty about at all whatsoever, because again, it is very keto friendly. It can be a little bit salty, so definitely keep that in mind if you're going to eat it or try it. You usually want to eat it with something not so salty, so I usually eat it with cream cheese, or I'll spread it on like some low carb crackers, something that kind of cuts the saltiness. The way that this was made with the honey, again, honey not keto friendly, but that sweetness will definitely cut the saltiness of it and make it a little more palatable for some people that find it too salty. But again, I would absolutely smash this. This looks amazing. Shout out to OP for this beautiful creation. You definitely get A plus in my book, because that's the bomb. This next one here, oh man, it's not pretty. I'll just go ahead and just preface before we pull the picture up, it's not pretty. Don't know how many of you are familiar with psyllium husk. It's basically just like a dietary fiber, but it's definitely a good way to kind of add fiber into different recipes that you're making. Now, this is a psyllium husk pasta, and it looks like some type of weird growth off a plate. It also kind of looks like a really diseased octopus. Don't really know how to describe it. Now, psyllium husk, that is definitely a keto-friendly ingredient. I use it all the time. Typically, when I use it, though, I usually use it if I'm baking and I have a lot of cheese that I'm baking and kind of making a dough. The psyllium husk is definitely a way to not only add fiber to that product, but it also kind of binds it and holds it together and makes it more dough-like and not so cheesy. So definitely a great ingredient to use. If you're not familiar with it, get some, work with it. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but again, I use it all the time, especially when I'm baking. This pasta, I would absolutely throw in the trash. I would not feed this to my dog, because it doesn't look like food. It looks absolutely horrible. So this is definitely a trash in my book. There's no way that I would even consider trying that at all whatsoever. And then this last one here is not keto. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. It's not keto friendly or anything. I was surfing on Reddit and just so happened to come across this. It's called spaghetti in a sausage tube. Now, I think my main issue with this, and it's absolutely a trash. I think my main issue with this is the way that it's packaged. You can tell that it's refrigerated. So I guess when you get it home, you cut the end of the sausage tube and you dump it out and eat it. I grew up on like Chef Boyardee. I'm sure a lot of people did. Love Chef Boyardee, love the beefaroni, the SpaghettiOs, meatballs. All that was fine, great, and wonderful. It came in a can and it was preserved. And I think that that is much more easy for me to kind of accept. As far as this, it's just, I think the refrigeration really makes it just it really bothers me. It's just not good. This is not okay. Definitely not keto friendly. You got the noodles for one, and then a lot of spaghetti sauces. I don't know if you're really familiar, but a lot of spaghetti sauces have a ton of sugar in them, which makes them heavier in carbs and not so keto friendly. So if you are into pasta, definitely make sure that you're checking the labels when you're purchasing your pasta sauce to make sure that it is one that is low in carbs, low in sugar. They do exist, but they are kind of hard to find. But this, again, is an absolute trash. I can't even begin to consider trying that or feeding that to anyone that I know. So
I think what's the most unappealing part of it is just you can see too much of it. If it was in a can, you wouldn't be able to see it. It might taste good, but they're just revealing too much from the get-go.
And it's just like in the color of it. And again, it could be the color is weird too. Like spaghetti sauce, it's tomato, it's red, and that looks really pale. So I don't know if it's just the picture, maybe the lighting, but it doesn't even look like a traditional like red spaghetti or pasta sauce. And yeah, like you said, yeah, you can see way too much. I don't know what all those chunks are in it. It could just be seasoning, herbs in it, but it doesn't look right. And then those noodles are going to be soggy. Like there's no way that those are going to taste good. It's gross. And it's foreign, so I actually don't know what country that is. I don't know what language that is. But yeah, they need to get a lesson on proper spaghetti making, because that's just not it. In presentation, absolutely. You eat with your eyes. Most people do. There are times that things don't look so great, but they taste wonderful. But for the most part, you eat with your eyes. So I absolutely would not eat that. That's going in the trash. I don't know about you, but I could definitely use a palate cleanser after those last two. So we're going to go ahead and move into videos on deck. So this first video I found on TikTok, and I definitely wanted to share it with you. It's absolutely keto friendly. It is a grilled chicken cordon bleu, and this looks amazing. So we're slicing the chicken. He's gonna roll up some ham and some Swiss cheese. Before he does that, he's gonna put a little bit of mustard in there, which I love using mustard when I'm grilling meats because it helps the seasoning adhere to whatever you're cooking. But he's going to stuff that chicken. He's going to close it up with some toothpicks just to make sure that all the goodies stay inside. So it's seasoning there. Then he's going to throw it on the grill and cook it up real nice. There's the toothpicks. And toothpicks are definitely a good way to kind of hold stuff together, especially if you don't have like butcher's twine. Definitely helps a lot. So he's grilling the chicken there. And then he's making this delicious looking cheese sauce that he's going to end up pouring over the top of his chicken after he slices it up really beautifully. This looks amazing. This is absolutely keto friendly. You got cheese, chicken, more meat, seasonings, and then he's putting more cheese on top. I am an absolute avid for cheese. Like, you cannot have enough cheese. I love cheese, but this looks really good. Again, very keto friendly. And it looks pretty simple. Like, there's not really a whole lot to it. You just got to make sure that you slice your chicken nicely so that you can actually stuff it in the meat and cheese, or the ham and cheese inside doesn't actually fall out. But that looks great. I would absolutely eat that. I might have to try that recipe sometime soon. Whenever I fire my grill up next, I might have to try it.
How long would that cook on the grill usually?
It depends on how hot the grill is. I would say at least 20 minutes, if not like 30 minutes, to make sure that it was cooked all the way. It's the only thing. Chicken is one of those, like, you cannot undercook it at all whatsoever. It's not forgiving. Make sure that your chicken is cooked all the way, but you don't want to overcook it because then it'll just be dry and tough. So I would say probably 20 to 30 minutes, give or take a little bit. This next one is burnt ends. So I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with burnt ends. It's usually like the very ends, like when you're grilling or smoking a brisket, that they cut off and then they put back in the smoker and cook it longer, and it gets nice and caramelized and juicy and delicious. This, though, is a poor man's burnt end. So he's taking, looks like a big roast, and cutting it down, and then he's going to season it up with some traditional like smoked meat seasoning, brown sugar. Again, with the mustard, it helps adhere the seasoning to the meat, and it also adds a little bit of extra flavor. But he's going to put these on the grill and smoke them up. Look at that caramelization. Look at that juicy deliciousness. And oh, the butter. You can't go wrong with butter. Putting it back on there, and the butter is definitely going to have, it's going to make it a little bit more tender. It's going to give it some juiciness. It's going to give it a little bit more flavor. We're putting it back in the grill again, now with some sauce. Now this one, up until the point of the barbecue sauce and the honey, it was definitely keto friendly. That barbecue sauce, it's not one that I'm familiar with. I couldn't really see the bottle that well. The honey, as we know, is not keto friendly, but you could absolutely do this recipe and just skip the honey and then just add like a low carb barbecue sauce. And then if you want the extra sweetness, you can definitely add like the brown sugar substitutes that are out there on the market to give you that little extra sweetness. But this recipe looks really good. Again, burnt ends are traditionally like on a brisket at the very end of it, but this is using kind of a whole roast and making quote unquote poor man's burnt ends. But it's definitely a good way to utilize a roast if you're kind of sick of the traditional way that you're cooking it in the crock pot or the stove or however you normally do your roast. So again, it's definitely a good recipe. Again, keto friendly up until the honey and the barbecue sauce, but you can keep it keto friendly by using a low carb barbecue sauce and skipping the honey and just using like a brown sugar substitute if you want a little bit of extra sweetness in there. But it looks good. I would definitely eat that. Now I'm really wanting to barbecue. Seen a couple of things on the grill. I think it's time to fire up my grill. This next one is also it's venison. So I've had venison before. I've had like the backstrap. I've had good traditional like summer sausage. A few friends that I went to culinary school were hunters, and they brought in some really good deer sausage, deer jerky. So I've had really good venison. It's definitely not something that I eat very often though. Again, I don't really know a whole lot of people that hunt, and it's not something that I would really buy in a store. I don't really even know if you can buy venison just at like a normal grocery store. I have no idea. It's something that I really shop for. But this recipe that was being made looks really good. I would definitely eat this. It's keto friendly, so that is the most important thing. But he's stuffing some jalapenos with some cream cheese and just some shredded, look like Colby Jack cheese, and then wrapping like a big hunk of ground venison around it. Now that looks good. I personally, again, since I don't really use venison, if you don't have venison, you can absolutely use like ground beef, ground pork. You can even do ground chicken and do the same thing, and then wrap it in bacon and put that on the grill as well. But that looks great. The jalapeno pepper looked really soft and juicy. The cream cheese was oozing out of it. But again, you don't have to use venison. It's a very versatile recipe. You can use ground beef, ground pork, ground chicken. So it's definitely something that you can kind of work around and use what you have on hand. I think I'm definitely, babe, we're going to have to do that. I know you love jalapenos a lot, and you love them grilled. So that's definitely getting added to my grill list whenever I grill next. But it looks
the color
fantastic.
When he cuts it open with the jalapeno and the meat looks so good.
Yeah, it's a good color contrast with the brown and the green, and then the white and yellow from the cheese. Looks good. I would also, I don't know, I think I would stuff the jalapeno more with some different things. Like I think you can do something other than just cheese. Like put a little bit of cheese in there, but you can do other vegetables. You don't even have to use a jalapeno. If you want to use a habanero or any other type of pepper, you can do that. But it's very simple. Like there's not a whole lot to it, that recipe really. Just some beef or chicken or whatever you want. A couple peppers, some cheese, wrap it in bacon. Everything is better with bacon in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Throw it on the grill, serve it up. Definitely gonna try that. I think that might be the first thing that I grill soon. You down?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll do that. All right, this last one here, again, also keto friendly. I stuck it to keto this time around. But this one is a cauliflower mac and cheese. Now I love mac and cheese, and not just like necessarily the keto version. I love mac and cheese, like the traditional mac and cheese, but it's not keto. This, however, looks amazing. So she's taking the whole head of cauliflower and breaking that down, putting it on a pan. Now she didn't put anything on it and just kind of roasted it straight in the oven, plain. I can't just do plain vegetables. I would have had to at least put some salt and pepper on it, at least a little bit, maybe a little bit of olive oil, because it was just too plain for me. But her cheese sauce looks amazing. She did it right. She's got her milk, she's got the cheese, put the cauliflower in, topping it with the cheese, and then I think she's gonna put it back in the oven to kind of bake and melt, some more cheddar on top. That looks amazing though. Again, the only thing I really would have done differently was I would have seasoned my cauliflower first before I put it in the oven the first time, because I just cannot eat plain vegetables. Yeah, you're gonna have some seasoning and some flavor within your cheese sauce itself, but I think you need to give the cauliflower a little bit more respect and kind of bring out its own natural flavors with a little bit. Again, you don't have to go fancy with it, but just a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil would take that dish to a whole new level. You don't want to use a ton of oil though, just because it would make it a lot harder for that cheese to stick to it. But I would absolutely give the cauliflower a little bit more love there in the beginning. But overall, that looks amazing. I'm going to have to make that too. I'm going to have to make all these recipes, let's be honest. I'm not upset about it though. I'll keep you busy. But that looks good. Oh, it's bubbling all nice. I like her little presentation too. A little bit of green on the top. It's probably some parsley or that she sprinkled on top of that. But that's all we have for videos. So we're going to go ahead and get into our product review segment. For this week's review, I reviewed the Choc XO Choc Keto Snaps that I found at Costco. I'm not sure if they're available anywhere else, but I do know that they can be found, at least for the most part, at Costco. The bag was only about $11.19 plus tax. There are 15 servings in the bag, and they are these really small looking, like, little square of chocolate, and it's got 4 little pieces on it here, as you can see. And it is 85% cacao. It's also listed as USDA organic, keto certified gluten-free, and also receives the kosher check. I personally think that this is one of those products that if you like dark chocolate, you would absolutely love these. My husband actually really likes them. He likes dark chocolate. I am not a huge fan of dark chocolate, but at the same time, I can absolutely appreciate these keto snaps. So it's just the dark chocolate. It's got some almonds in it and sea salt. The flavor is really good. I think that they definitely made a great product. It tastes really good. I personally am just not a huge fan of dark chocolate. But again, if you like dark chocolate, this is definitely a product you want to try and check out. And again, I got it at Costco. It was only $11.19 for the bag, and there's 30 pieces. Each serving is 2 pieces or 2 packages. So when you look at it, that's really a lot of chocolate for a serving. It is only 3 net carbs per serving, which was the main reason why I bought them. Something sweet, something chocolatey, and only 3 net carbs. That is an absolute phenomenal product, and nutritional information on there. So definitely check it out. Again, Costco, $11.19. They are the Choc XO Organic Choc Keto Snaps. They're going to run you about, a little under $12. So definitely check those out. We want to see your kitchen creations. Please submit any photos, videos, basically anything that's going on in your kitchen, good, bad, or ugly, to submissions at ketoschmetopod.com. Or you can tag us on Twitter or Instagram at Keto Schmeto Pod. And that's our show for today. We have some new segments and guest appearances in store for you coming soon. But before you leave, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, drop us a comment down below and let us know what you think. Again, please keep sending in your submissions and tuning in. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.